Hey guys, I'm glad we're all here to rank one of the best movie franchises of all time.
Hey, Spidey! How's it going, my man? I'm glad to be here. Although I do have a meeting to attend to in less than 10 minutes, it can wait for all I care.
Hey, fellas. It's awesome to be invited to this. I know it's going to be so much fun.
Hi there, it's an honor to be here. Peter, Tony, Clark, it's nice to see you.
It's great to see everyone here. Hope you're all doing well. But on to the topic at hand, let's get right into it. Alright, I know most people would start with release order, but how about we change it up and go with chronological order? Let's start with The Phantom Menace. How do we feel about this one, folks?
Well, I actually really liked this film. I thought it was pretty
I thought
good.
it was complete and utter garbage.
Wait, what?
Sorry, guys, but this movie just really isn't it for me. It felt like a 5-hour boring slog, and it actually ended up only being 2 hours. To me, this movie literally invented seamless time travel before I did, with how boring it was. D tier.
Oh, come on, really, Tony? I feel like this movie did wonders for the world design and character development that would continue to have a great effect on the franchise later down the line. But I'll admit the politics in this movie did take up most of the plot, and I can see why most people wouldn't like it just for that.
I feel like I'm alone on this, but I actually liked the politics in this film. Just because it seems boring does not mean it isn't generally interesting. Galactic politics that's shown as slow, complex, and demonstrates that it's so feasible for it to be corrupted as we see later. How is that boring?
Spoken from a guy who's as monotone as this damn film. This movie's politics is the biggest time waster, bar the unnecessary meetings I attend. Don't even get me started on Jar Jar.
Okay guys, can we all agree the final battle with Darth Maul was sick? And Qui-Gon's death, oh man. My feelings.
That final act was stupendous. And I've got to say, Qui-Gon passing the torch to Obi-Wan made me shed a tear.
I may not be as sentimental as either of you, but I will say the fight choreography in this battle was pretty brilliant.
The fight was definitely rad, but are we seriously going to give this movie a pass just because of the final act, despite all of this film's flaws? I mean, come on, guys. This movie is supposed to be the first film any newcomer to the franchise watches, and it's just this hunk of junk. I can even guarantee the actual junk I scrap from my workplace is even better garbage than this entire
Come on now,
movie.
Shellhead. You have to admit, this film does have its moments. It may not be A tier or even B tier, but this film does establish the universe pretty well for those new to Star Wars, and the action being paced way ahead of the original trilogy was an interesting decision that I'd say paid off. This movie is at least C tier for me.
Honestly, I'd say at least give it a B tier, but C tier sounds fine with me, especially since it's definitely a slow-paced movie to get through. It is kind of a daunting task to rewatch this movie after having seen it already when all the other movies are a far better watch. But don't you think D tier is too low for this movie, Tony? I mean, we got all the awesome Jedi scenes, the pod racing, the underwater sea monster, and also the battle for Naboo. They are truly great material. Any chance you could raise this film?
Okay, you know what? Fair enough, this film definitely has its moments, and at the end of the day, it's still Star Wars, and honestly, putting this film where I wanted it would probably be overkill considering what's coming later. But anyways, C tier sounds good.
Thanks for being fair, guys. How about you, Bats? Is C tier good with you?
Yes, I agree.
Well, I'm glad we're all in agreement, folks.
I love the tier names, by the way, Spidey. Very creative.
Thanks, Soups.
Although, why does Darth Maul represent D tier?
Well, not sure if you guys saw it, but there was that one fight we had years ago where I won. And you just know I had to do it to him. It literally took a crappy alternate ending for him to win.
Yo, that's my man!
Thanks, Tony.
No problem, my man. Maul is a bad character that's in a mediocre movie. It's well deserved.
Alright, well anyways, on to Attack of the Clones. What are our thoughts?
All I'll say is, this movie better not go above B tier. It's definitely a better watch than the movie before it. But damn, that horrendous dialogue made me re-examine my pickup lines to make sure there wasn't as much cringe as I saw in that movie.
I'm not one for romance, but even then I could still tell that Anakin and Padme's scenes together were pretty cringe. You could say it was intentional, but that doesn't help the quality of the scenes at all. It could have been done so much better.
Romance scenes aside, the action was pretty great for this film, no?
Yeah, it was really entertaining for me, especially the Battle of Geonosis. Really great stuff.
There was definitely a lot of cool things we saw, but the bad elements in this movie does hold it back. Can we all agree it's better than The Phantom Menace and that it's fine at B tier?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, I concur.
Go ahead, Spidey.
Alright, great. Now on to Revenge of the Sith. Thoughts on it? Personally, I think it's S tier.
Sorry, Spidey, but there's no way this movie is going above A tier.
What makes you say that, Tony?
I always thought the Anakin and Palpatine manipulation was just so damn stupid. There's no way he trusts this obviously evil guy over the Jedi who've been shown as his family. He seriously betrays his master and brother figure Obi-Wan just because an obvious overambitious politician has a hunch on how to save his wife. The same wife he shouldn't have had to begin with, but became such a simp for. It's no wonder he got manipulated by such a fossil.
You speak as if you have experience on this, Stark. Is there something you want to say?
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Come on, fellas, settle down. From Anakin's perspective, it was clear he was losing trust in the Jedi just as they weren't trusting him. And he simply followed someone who was like a father figure to him. You can't really blame him from being gullible when he wasn't really given a choice.
Yeah, the emotional stakes in this film are definitely way higher here than in any of the movies so far. All the action sequences are completely stunning, and without a doubt some of the best and most iconic ones in the franchise. Don't even get me started on Anakin versus Obi-Wan. My god, that hit different.
That fight was really dope, but it really easily could have been avoided had Anakin just trusted the people who were actually close to him. None of this had to happen. I'm still insisting on A tier.
Sorry, Tony, but I have to disagree with you. This movie is S tier for me.
I have to go with S tier as well. Palpatine's plan was successfully orchestrated across the 3 films, and it's pretty haunting how he was able to manipulate the hero of the story to be on his side by the end of it. In my opinion, that was really well done, and you honestly don't see this type of thing, at least at this level nowadays.
Sorry, Shellhead, but you just got overruled. Revenge of the Sith goes in S.
You've got to be kidding me! This bureaucracy is as bad as the Republic's by the end of the movie.
Anyways, moving on. Now that we've finished ranking the prequels, we're on to the OG trilogy. This should be a breeze. We all agree A New Hope is S tier, right?
Easily S, no doubt. If any of you say otherwise, we're gonna have an issue.
Don't worry, Tony, no issue here at all. This movie is a masterpiece and the perfect hero's journey. It's S tier for me without a doubt.
I'll also agree on S tier as well.
You're so lucky to have said that, Wayne. Had you said otherwise, you would have forced me to buy out all of your company's assets.
Try me, Stark. I'll have you pinned to the wall with so many court cases you can fill out that teenage locker room you call your armory.
Guys, relax. We all agree with one another, so we're fine. Let's put A New Hope in S and move on.
I agree, Spidey. Let's not bicker amongst ourselves, fellas. It's just a tier list.
Says the Boy Scout.
Now on to The Empire Strikes Back. This movie is easily the most iconic of them all. Easy S tier, right?
Why, of course, Spidey. This is the objective best Star Wars film without a doubt.
Wait, do you know what I just figured out, Stark? You've been going off on hate tangents about the prequels, but have been a toxic fanboy about the originals. You're not going to let any OT movie go under S, are you?
And so what if I am Mr. Dark and Brooding? Are you saying that The Empire Strikes Back doesn't go in S? 'Cause if so, that's great. Then I can finally have another excuse to fly over there and kick your edgy ass after you talk so much BS. Or would you rather let Alfred fight me for you? I bet he's a better fighter for sure.
Proving me right yet again by talking straight out of your delusional hard-shelled skull. What's new?
Wow, I'm really gonna have to get you guys into counseling after this. You two legitimately argue like an old married couple.
You talk about marriage as if you know what that looks like. Remind me again what happened with Mary Jane in the current comics?
Hey, that stuff isn't canon to the comic book character voice AI universe. I'm happily married to Mary Jane right now as we speak. But dang, I've got to say this current run of mine is really depressing. But enough sidetracking, back to the list.
Seriously? Come on, guys. We're all arguing with each other despite the fact that we're all agreeing on the same rankings? We can't let this go on any longer. From now on, we are to be civil and polite, or else we're putting this thing to rest.
Of course you're right, Clark, as always. I agree to your terms, just as long as Tony keeps his loud mouth shut.
Just don't say anything bad about the OT trilogy, and we're good, Bruce.
Thanks for settling this, guys. So we're in agreement that Empire Strikes Back is S tier, right?
I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's the best Star Wars movie, so of course it's S. Webhead.
Unlike what Tony believes, I of course think this movie is spectacular. So yes, I think it does belong in S tier.
I agree with all of you on it being S tier. Thanks for playing nice, fellas.
All right, now on to the Return of the Jedi. Thoughts on it, guys?
It's S tier, right, guys?
I'm going to have to disagree with you, Tony. As much as I like this movie, it doesn't belong in S. It's noticeably a step down from the movies before it. It's in A tier for me.
Son of a bitch!
Tony!
Oh, right, sorry. What I meant to say was, I politely ask you to retract that statement, Bruce. before I use my satellite to strike your Batcave with an atomic laser that would obliterate everything in its radius.
Come on, Tony, what did we just agree to?
Don't mind him, Clark. An arms dealer never changes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Guys, settle down. If you guys are gonna be at each other's throats, save it till after we finish this freaking tier list. Got it?
Yeah, guys, that's enough. Let's just finish this list and move on. I personally am going to have to agree with Bruce, and as much as I think that Return of the Jedi is a great film, it just doesn't meet up to the standards as the others.
Yeah, stuff like the first act and the Ewoks on Endor seemed really unnecessary and kind of messed with the plot, but the final act was definitely one of the greatest moments of the franchise. The fight between Luke and Vader, and then Anakin returning as his redemption arc concluded, was incredibly awesome. This film definitely would have been S tier if it weren't for its faults holding it back.
I'm just going to let the democratic process overrule me here instead of arguing. I would have nothing nice to say anyway.
Thanks for complying, Tony.
No thanks to you, but yeah, whatever.
Settle down.
Now that we got the first two trilogies out of the way, all we have left to rank is the sequel trilogy.
Can we please just speed through this garbage dumpster fire of a trilogy so I can attend the meeting that I put on hold?
Now, that's quite a bit harsh, Tony, but yeah, I don't mind going a bit quicker.
Yeah, especially since there shouldn't be much to say about these movies that hasn't already been said, geez. But anyways, the only film I like from the sequels is The Force Awakens. But that's really just a retread of A New Hope, and it still has quite a bit of problems. I'd say it goes in D tier.
If this movie didn't have the elements from the OT, I would have put it in E tier, but because it does, yeah, D is fine with me. It's also better than the others that are to come, so yeah, I'd say this is fair.
Yes, I agree. It was just a mediocre movie that had a lot of issues that started the problematic future of the trilogy. D tier is just fine with me.
I think that D tier might be a bit too mean to it and that it should at least be in C, but I get where you guys are coming from, so I'll agree with D tier as well.
Now moving on to The Last Jedi. Thoughts?
To be completely honest, it was really disappointing for me. I didn't really enjoy watching this film, and I especially didn't like to see how Luke was handled. He felt like an entirely different character and all.
Yeah, Luke's character was utterly butchered. They somehow made him a hermit, and also an absolute jackass, when realistically there's no way the Luke from the OT would grow older to be this guy at all.
It's definitely a great example of character assassination at its finest.
Yeah, seeing Luke's character end up this way was really depressing to see. And he's literally my favorite character. So, can we all agree this film goes in E tier for what it's done?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Go ahead, Peter.
Do it, Spidey! It's what this garbage deserves!
Alright, now that we have that out of the way, let's finally end this tier list with the last movie, The Rise of Skywalker.
This movie is an utter disgrace to the franchise. How in the actual hell could they do this to Star Wars? It's a goddamn disappointment!
Please calm down, Tony. But I understand why you're upset. As a fan of the franchise, it was very disappointing to see how this film was handled a bit poorly, especially considering this is supposed to be the conclusion of the Skywalker saga.
Handled a bit poorly? Bro, this film continued to have the same non-likable characters with no goddamn character development. The only notable character in this movie is Ben, but even then his redemption was really half-assed. Besides that, Palpatine being the main bad guy again was utter BS, and the final battle with him and Rey could have been so much better.
I honestly agree with you, Tony. I was still hoping for Finn to be a pivotal character with some good, deserved development, but he still followed Rey like a stray dog trying to find an owner without any purpose besides that. It would have been so much better if he had gone from a stormtrooper to a fully fledged Jedi like everyone was expecting, but, of course, that wasn't the case. Very unfortunate.
I'm glad we all agree with the flaws of this film. There was so much potential for this saga conclusion, but it ended up as such a disappointment. Is it fair to say that this movie belongs in E tier?
Without a doubt.
No arguments here.
As much as it pains me to say it, I'm going to have to agree with you fellas. This movie could have made up for the whole trilogy with its potential, but it just didn't hit the mark. E tier it is.
And with that, we finished the list, folks. Thank you guys so much for pulling through till the very end. This was honestly really fun, even with all the trash talk and witty banter.
It was an honor to be here, Spidey. Thanks again for the invite.
Same thing here. It was nice critiquing some Star Wars. We should do some more tier lists in the future.
I'll definitely be down for that, just so as long as no one has any bad takes.
Sounds good, guys. Well, anyways, let's call it a day. I hope that meeting goes well for you, Tony. Meanwhile, I'm going to take Mary Jane out for dinner. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, see ya.
Farewell.
Take care, fellas.
It's my time to shine, baby. I am so sorry you guys had to witness this shitty tier list. The sequel movies this low is a fucking crime. I seriously want to bleach my eyes right before I rip them out of my head. I'll be fixing this trash real quick. Don't worry, my YouTube audience. Your hero Deadpool is here to save the day. Just some changes here and there, and this list is good to go. Oh my goodness! It's the perfect list now! You're welcome, of course! No need to thank silly old me! And with my duty complete, I will be taking my leave. Have a great and amazing day, viewers! And just between you and me, you're the real S tier!